sweet, sweet sound in your ear.
Hey everybody. For anybody who doesn't know me, my name is Will Baker. I'm a member of Cornerstone Church and a friend of Tom's. Unfortunately, I was not able to make this. We had a vacation plan set up for a couple months, and I'll be elsewhere. But I just had a really good conversation with Cherry, and I asked her if it would be possible if I'd be able to record something, pre-record something in a place that I couldn't find more suiting than on the water when I think of Tom. It took me a while to try and figure out how I wanted to do this and how I wanted to say it, but when I thought of a peaceful place to share some words about a man who did so much for me and taught me so much about the world and myself, the very first spot I could think of was a lake where I know he had appreciated spending so much time, especially in his younger years. Tom always came across so calm, cool, and collected, but then shared some pretty amazing stories about his life. I'm sure most of you have heard a lot of them. His water skiing days and competitions all over the place, and his love for the water and skiing, and just his passion for being out there, climbing Mount Everest with pneumonia nonetheless. Only a guy like Tom could complete that. And then just riding his bike across America. Some of the stories he was able to share with me, just about talking about the word with guys on the road, and the struggles and the triumphs riding from coast to coast. Not many people can have a story like that and just exude so much excitement about pain and pleasure. Nobody could really do it like Tom either. Just so many amazing things. But what he seemed to be most proud of and passionate about was ministering to men. I love to fish, I love to hunt, and as I'm out here thinking about fishing, all I can think of is Tom as kind of that fisher of men. He had a knack for drawing people in and teaching about the good news, and he just had a way about it that was unexplainable. He always would tell me he wasn't a good teacher, and he would bring that up quite often, as I'll get into about our Zoom Bible study meetings, but he was amazing. He always said he was a good facilitator, not teacher. He just had the capability to find studies, but it wasn't just that. He had a passion, and the Lord and the Holy Spirit definitely used him as a conduit, and it's very apparent. I'll get into a little bit of how I met Tom. So I had a pretty rough childhood, upbringing, and a lot of trauma, and I didn't get to really get into the Word or my journey with Christ until later in life. And I went to a few churches here and there, and just never really fit in. And we had been living in Ione for a few years and found Cornerstone, and people had talked around town about this cool Pastor Brian guy, and you should go see him. And so my wife and I decided to go visit, and completely started to fall in love with just the people and the energy that was at that church. And I think it's a testament to what Cornerstone has built, and it's pretty amazing. And as I got to know Brian a little bit and share a little bit of my testimony, he kept saying, you got to meet this guy Tom. I got a perfect guy for you to talk to, and he loves to meet with men and just kind of start to teach and build them up, because I was hungry. I just didn't know anything. And so Tom got my phone number, gave me a call. We couldn't make it happen right away, but he kept bugging me to get together for coffee. Even though I can't stand coffee, I still agreed to meet him and have a cup of water, and he drank his coffee, and we met behind Don Luis and Ione up on some benches and had a wonderful conversation for the first time. And I felt instantly connected and close, and it was weird. I'm the oldest of three boys, and I felt like I instantly had an older brother, and it's something I will never be able to explain. And that grew into him talking me into doing some Bible study with him, because I knew nothing really about the Word. I knew the little bits that everybody can repeat, but Tom really pressed into me and wanted to teach me. And it wasn't until a little bit later that I realized he was doing that left and right with a bunch of other older men, younger men, guys across the country. He would Zoom in another state. And so I started meeting him at our church once a week, and we do an hour of Bible study. And a few months later, he really started to press in and ask more of me. And he was really good about nurturing and asking more in a very graceful, respectful way, not to feel overwhelmed, but just knew he saw something in me, he said, and he just knew that I was worth his time, which that's another amazing thing. I'll never be able to explain in words the amount of time that man poured into me. So we decided that we were going to do Zoom because my life is so busy. I can work anywhere from 60 to 80 hours a week and coaching multiple sports for my kids. I needed to find a time that would work, but would work for both of us. And Tom jumped at the opportunity to get up at 4 a.m. with me every single day, Monday through Friday, if need be. And I laughed because I figured he made the comment that, yeah, I'll do that. That's no problem at all. And in my mind, I'm thinking he's psychotic, because who else wants to get up at 4 a.m. if they don't have to? He's already got a bunch of men that he meets with at 6 a.m. and does that Bible study. So by the time he was done with me, he's just raring to go on to the next group of men to teach and nurture and build up the kingdom. And he was so good at that. So I figured for maybe 6 months he'd be able to keep up getting up with me at 4 a.m. And that lasted for a year. Then it lasted for another year. And then it lasted for another year. And by the time we hit that third year, I just thought there's absolutely no way this is going to keep going. And he was so faithful with it. And there'd be so many times that I didn't understand something that was going on in the video, where he'd pause it and I'd have a barrage of questions for him. And he was so good about answering all my questions and taking the time to really make sure that I understand what was most important, which was the Word. And that if I can convey that the most, is that's all he ever wanted to do, is help grow the kingdom and teach men about the Word. And he was so good about that. I was always comfortable around him. He always made me feel like I was talking with a big brother. Like I said, I'm oldest of 3 boys and never had an opportunity to have a big brother, but he was that for me. That was something that I never really understood, what it must be like to have an older sibling, and to have that and that comfortability to speak with someone and to ask questions and to just gain guidance. For him to take the time he did to just sit with you, and he'd listen. He wouldn't even say anything half the time. He would just listen and give advice where he felt necessary. And I think that's one thing that maybe blessed him in his career with CAL FIRE and the corrections side, was he was dealing with a bunch of troubled young men, and they always had issues with authority. I've got friends doing it now, and that's one of the biggest things, is these young men probably didn't have any guidance. And Tom never ceased to amaze me with the stories of how he was just so capable to get in there and not necessarily make friends, but gain respect from these guys who didn't really respect many people, just from whatever their circumstances were in life. And again, it's just another wonderful thing about the man. One of my favorite memories of hanging out with Tom would have to be about a year ago. He was still fighting his fight, and he, myself, and a friend of ours, Troy would put together these wake and roll days. And what that was you'd go out to the lake and wake surf, and then you'd go back to his house and we would do jujitsu in the garage. And it happened to be summertime and it was really hot. And Tom jumped at the opportunity to come out on the boat with the two of us and try water skiing. And seeing him shred around the lake and not feeling good. I know he wasn't 100%, but he was still out there, and to see the absolute joy on his face, and you could see him fall right back into just he hadn't done it for a really long time, but he hopped right up, barely any strength in his legs, and he was just cutting across the water like it was butter. And he's got, as everybody knows, he's got an amazing smile. He's, soft in his ways and quiet sometimes, but not in others. But he just had this beautiful smile. And it was really neat to see him enjoying himself on the water. And then when he had a pretty good crash, we thought he had enough. And he gave this, he said, one more. And he hopped right back up and was jamming around the lake some more. And it was just absolutely beautiful. And just to see him enjoy himself on a place that you could tell he just loved to be, it was very impressive and just beautiful. And we went back to Troy's house and decided to do some jujitsu. And Tom did not hesitate to jump right in there and get on the mat and try and choke us out and wrestle us and just expend all this energy that we both knew was, it was hard for him to get that kind of energy out. But just seeing his laughter, and kind of went back to his high school wrestling days, and you could see he had a really good idea what to do, and still really strong and just in there getting it. It was a great memory, and I'll never forget it. Another one of my favorite memories was the time him and I walked around Lake Taboo, and it would have been a couple years after we started doing our Bible studies together, and him and I got really comfortable, and we both shared things about our lives and, joyous times and traumatic times, and just never felt awkward talking to him because he was so comfortable and caring and nurturing and loving. And that was the first time I gave him bits and pieces of my testimony, but that was the day that it just all spilled out. And I went from beginning to end, and I told him my whole testimony. And we had a really deep conversation. That was the day that I completely realized how much love that guy had for me. And I never felt ashamed. I never felt uncomfortable. Even though it was an uncomfortable topic to talk about, I didn't feel uncomfortable talking to him about it. And the journey that I had in my life before that, and how fallen I was before I knew Christ, I thanked him for everything he'd ever done for me and all the time he poured into me and the love he showed me. I could go on and on, but I'll wrap this up with just a little something that I know in my heart Tom would want me to say at the service, is that we are all called to go and share the good news. We may not all have the same talents with that, but he calls us to it no matter what. And that's with our time, talents, and treasures. And some people do have the ability to facilitate people coming together and sharing the word with them or teaching them the word. Some of us don't have that, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And that's something he definitely taught me. We're supposed to be the hands and feet and go out and spread the news across the world. So what I challenge us all to do is to seize all the opportunities that you can to make a difference in someone's life. And it may not come easy. Most things don't. But be bold. Be loud in a gracious way. Don't hesitate to help someone out or talk to them about who Jesus is. Our Father will do his work through us if we know him, and we have to be able to allow him to do that. And that just means being obedient. And those are definitely the things that Tom has taught me, is to try to be more loud, be bold. We had a saying that I kind of heard from an old guy I used to work with, and I shared it with Tom, and he absolutely loved it. And it was embrace the suck. Crummy things can happen to all of us. You may not feel good. You may get hurt. You might have something going on in life that is undesirable. But it's what you do with those moments that kind of define you. And if you are able to take those opportunities and just realize that, yes, they don't feel good, or they suck, as I said, to make the best out of that opportunity. And the more you worry about how much it sucks or how uncomfortable it is, the worse it gets. It's when you just push forward and move on and try and make the best out of whatever the situation is that, you know, you'll start at point A and you'll get to Z. And you can either make it harder on yourself or not. So we used to say, embrace the suck, and he was pretty good at it. We joke about that. I always said that, you know, like, Tom, you're pressing a lot of time into a dirt bag because I'm just so fallen. And he said, Will, we're all dirt bags, myself included. But that's why God loves us. Everyone who knew Tom can all undoubtedly see the Holy Spirit working through him, for sure. And it was an amazing thing to witness. We could be out having cupcake or cakes and donuts out, and Tom would be moving around the crowd, just showing everybody the same kind of love he showed me, and always made everybody feel special. I was fortunate to spend some amazing time at his bedside on his last night on this earthly world, and laughed and cried with him one more time. But I know that I will see him again with that beautiful and soft smile and welcoming eyes. That was another good one. His eyes were just so caring. And that'll be my time when the Lord calls me up, and he'll be there, and I'll see him again. Thank you all for your time. And until I see you again, love you, brother. Thank you.